Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. Good to see you all. We're H&D Abroad. I'm Herman.
I'm Dee. On this channel, we are documenting our move abroad. We are discussing all of the decisions that we're making before our launch, and we are learning in community and sharing. And sometimes we invite guests. And sometimes y'all are asking us the hard questions. So if that is, the way that you want to, just kind of pursue your future goals and do that goal setting and action plan, then this is your channel, because we are live every Saturday. 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, so that we can learn and grow together. So, oh my goodness.
Sounds good to you?
People are talking some talks on the internet.
Man.
Okay. And we were like, we had something planned to talk about today, but we had to do a U-turn. I want to say thank you to Aging Grateful for the video they put out just yesterday. They always have great content, but the video they put out yesterday, Stephanie Perry and Rashida Dow of Exodus Summit, they were both on Stephanie Perry's channel today talking about this topic of how the visa process, the way that you can be legally in a country, either as a tourist or as a resident, is changing.
This is truly a conversation today. All right. So we need to hear your thoughts, your feels.
I might, there are a couple people in the chat. I might send the link because y'all might need to just drop by.
Okay.
For live. So if you keep your phones close by, because we might just be like, come join us in the studio, because where we are is we started this journey with residencies in Mexico. I don't want to get too deep into the topic, but what we said was we're not ready to go yet. Okay. But what we witnessed was a process. We wanted to do the Friendly Nations visa in Panama. And we were like, but we're thinking this is, maybe 4 or 5 years down the road. We'll just wait. And the Friendly Nations visa process changed. How you become eligible for residency in Panama, the way that was accessible to our current income and our current ability changed. Y'all, I was like, I will not do this move abroad process with regret. So we took action in Mexico because I was like, I don't know how this process will change. And this week, ladies and gentlemen, just 2 days ago,
right,
the one of the visas eligibility shifted in Mexico, and we and a lot of other content creators are talking about that. So I want to just welcome those who are currently here. This is how we greet each other. So come through, say hello, tell us where you are, give a greeting in the chat, greet each other, because I know y'all do that too. So
Sam.
Look, Sam is exactly where Sam needs to be. Sam is helping her sister secure her ability to be in a different place. That's what family does. That's what we do as friends. That's what we do as content creators. Not only do we secure the opportunities for ourselves, but we are sharing and walking those that we care about, those who say, hey, I see you doing a thing. Can you help me do a thing? That's what we're doing. All right, now. things are changing in Spain, but the way that we're talking about going hasn't.
What's going on,
But
Yolanda?
it shifted this year. So
Yeah,
thank you
everything.
so much for joining us from Spain. Hello, Greta. Greta's a good, faithful sister who shares like the real details.
A lot of stuff has changed in the Portugal
In
process.
Portugal, exactly.
In just a few years, we've been doing it. Beijing Alpha 4. We know Spain. We know. You ain't got to tell us. Your presence here.
All
right, Agent Grateful down there in San Miguel. Good to see you, fam. This is my cousin. This is my fam. What's up, fam?
That's right.
Good to see you. When your blood come through, that's support there.
My brother and sister, Nikki and David. Yeah, if y'all have questions, please make sure that you put them in the chat, because we've got folks in the chat that are currently residents in Mexico. If you've got those questions, so
excuse me,
Jice,
tackling the world. We know Panama's top of the ring, but he's tackling the world. So it's good to see you today.
Jice said, "I'm getting everything I can." He went and got Panama. He showed his Mexican residency cards. You don't have to right now in the U.S. You can have other residencies right now in the U.S. If you hold a U.S. passport, you can have dual citizenship. What this process is telling me is that things are changing. The political process is changing. Processes for immigrating are changing, and how I have access is shifting and changing. What is available today may not always be available today. What I am eligible for today, whether that is how I'm eligible for a passport, how I'm eligible to move from a tourist visa to other residency visas. We are here today to say, what can you do today to secure yourself in the place, your plan A place, your plan B place, your plan C place. If you are not considering that, you probably should, because even if the political scene didn't change, the economic scene is changing. Their visas are how countries, if you've heard tourism is the major industry in X place, then economics is impacting how people are allowed in or how they are filtering the process for who can be there. Welcome, Mama. Welcome, welcome.
Kenya Fergie, welcome. Good to see you.
Oh, Tanya Brooks, that's right.
Pamela Jones in the house.
Welcome, dear. Welcome.
Okay, so.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. This comment right here. This, we believe in getting the stuff, not from a selfish perspective, but I was just having a conversation. I was just interviewed by Jace, Nomad. She's been in the chat, and I've had her on our channel before. But, we were just talking about passport privilege and the ability to move around in the world as a U.S. citizen with a blue passport. It is the strength of the passport is in the visa access that we can have, visa on arrival. We don't have to apply to have a tourist visa in a lot of places. And so we have kind of had that level of convenience, that level of privilege, but that could change. I just, things that I thought were set in stone, okay? Rights and privileges that in my 50 plus years in the US have always been reproductive rights. I thought, look, my mother's generation got that for me. I have lived in that, and it is safe for our daughter. And guess what? Things changed. And I'm beginning to look at more of my life. We've talked about on this channel, these jobs ain't loyal. Okay. The security that I feel like I have in my job is misplaced, as well as optimism about what I see today, where I want to go today, always those opportunities always being there. So
okay, so let's deal with some of what I think are some of the obvious things. We live in a young country with a lot of power, and it creates clout, and it creates a bit of antagonism when we are around the world. And depending on who is having say from the top office, it affects how we move around the world. You know, if the top dog is saying it, then y'all all must be saying it. And especially when places that were once our safe spaces in terms of easy access, when they begin to create avenues of ways of saying you got to work a little harder. We didn't know 30 years ago when we were 20 plus to say, let's look at some options around the world. Let's tap into some places. Let's put down a few dollars here and there, and we can be a part of a global thing. Because retirement in and of itself was, for lack of a better way to say it, for old people. And traveling the world was for retired people. Mm-hmm. So, I'm from Florida, Naples, Florida, and West Palm Beach, Florida is a haven for retirement. As well occupied, as high end. And so you conceptually see people who have finished and earned their pensions, and they got these big money, and they do these things. And if they want, they go on a cruise, and if they want their own property, and they live around the world. And then you begin to realize that there was more access around the world than you previously understood. And it didn't require you to be rich. It didn't require you to be so financially secure that, you could sit back in a lounge chair and smoke Cuban cigars the rest of your life. You can actually, leave at 25. We're watching 30-year-olds with small children travel the world.
19, 18.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, just, and the freedom of life that is beyond the borders of our home countries, because we're not all from America, our home countries has opened up to a lot of spaces.
Right.
Unfortunately, we also have to be realistic with the fact that nationalism is increasingly a thing within these last 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
For various reasons, the change in our political status, who has been accepted into office. We've had an African-American president. We've had people who fought that. I mean, you got so many things that have changed, as Kay's confessions is, have changed the narrative.
Yeah.
On what makes a thing move forward. And so what happens then is, as they say, people begin to feel some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know a lot of people say, around the world, we're not seen as Black people, we're just seen as Americans. I think in some spaces that's true. And I think in a lot of spaces we're seen as Black people. And people of color are a touch point when we get them moving around in the spaces that people feel are protected spaces. Mm-hmm. And so the rules start to change.
Visas are based on relationships where countries can come together and say, this can be a win-win. for both of us. And so when those relationships shift, one area, one area that could be impacted is the access for that, people from those countries to curtail the movement. I never thought, it was always 180 days going to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a given, it was 180 days. And then when we were preparing for our first visa visit, it was as we were rounding the bend, I'll say it that way, as we were rounding the bend with the pandemic, that they started saying you could get a week, you could get 2 weeks. It literally did not matter if you said, I have a return ticket within the 180 days and I have accommodations. Whichever agent you got made the decision on how long you were able to stay in the country.
Mm-hmm.
We see that, and I'm using Mexico because of the news that was recently shared, and I'll share it in just a moment. But that can also happen depending on which consulate that you go to. Right now with Mexico specifically, and I won't say it's been brewing over the last 5 years that we've been tracking. Mm-hmm. Consulates now are beginning to say, if you don't live in this state, you don't have access to this consulate. So people were able to kind of look around and say, people are being approved for this kind of visa. I'm thinking permanent visa versus temporary. Permanent visas used to be given primarily to anyone that qualified economically for that level. Mm-hmm. We saw the shift with, unless you are retired, your income, your economic solvency is from a government source, a pension, then you are given a temporary visa. And so the way that a temporary visa works is if you qualify for the consulate in the US or in your home country, because you cannot apply for residency in Mexico. So whatever consulate you go to, you follow their rules. And some of them were saying, if you weren't getting it from that source, that the only visa you would qualify for was temporary, even if what you qualified for economically was in the range for permanent residency. So not just so where you can go to which consulate you can go to, mm-hmm. and what you qualify for. Those have been changes we've been noticing over the last couple of years. This year, 2 days ago, the regularization, y'all, I'm going to slaughter that word, so I'm going to try not to say that too often, was a path that folks have been able to take that did not require economic solvency. You just had to have come in. You had to have an entry stamp between 2018 and 2022.
Correct.
They were even allowing 2023 and later to still qualify for economic solvency. And on Thursday, if you were past 2022 with your entry stamp, then you're no longer able to qualify for, I think it's RNE is the regularization process. So mm-hmm. that I had there are a group of ladies from Exodus Summit that the Exodus Summit ASAP that did a land border crossing so that they qualified for regularization. And they had 9 people, 7 of them, their stamps were 2022 and earlier. They were able to get their cards. The other 2 have appointments, and they are hopeful that they'll be able to get their residency as well. But I promise you all, there was no warning. There was no in a month, in a week, things change. Economic solvency for Mexico specifically, we know that there's going to be a change. They're going to adjust that based on the wage. Okay. And so that will change. What do you call it? Y'all, my words, I'm at a loss. But yeah, so the national wage changes each year. And so the economic solvency is based on, what is it called in our country? The federal wage, the minimum wage. There we go. Okay. The minimum wage in Mexico is tied to that economic solvency requirement. Which is the same for a lot of countries. So as the wages increase, which is a good thing for local populations, it was starting to price out some people. And so that's where we were initially starting those conversations about literally today's prices. Tomorrow's prices aren't going to be today's prices. So if you can take action, even if you are considering it down the road, what can you look at doing today to secure your opportunity to be in a country? And I think we'll share a little bit about where another place, multiple residencies, I think is an important part of our journey. We want to be able to have options to be in places that we love, where we have lots of local contacts, friends who have immigrated there, locals who have befriended us, who we have brought into our circle.
Here's an example. Greta asks, would that also include 401k or Roth IRA for Mexico? We got 2 responses for her on that. Agent Grateful said that they have found that if you're not drawing monthly payments.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Is Social Security is a federal payment. Pensions are a federal payment. Anything outside of that, you can only qualify as a temporary visa. And more INM offices, consulate offices are using that rule.
Jice was able to say that they were still able to qualify using those. So it still has a lot to do sometimes.
You can qualify for temporary visa with 401k or IRA, but getting the permanent residency, I think is what Agent Grateful is saying, is to qualify for the permanent residency. They're wanting to see that those payments that you are qualifying for under economic solvency come from a government source, that lifetime payment source.
While these processes are still relatively easy to maneuver, while they're still accessible, make movement. We get asked a lot if we are overthinking it, taking too long. But believe me, we have processes in effect in spaces so that we're in motion.
Right.
Agent Grateful stated here that Mexico has opened up a hotline for locals to report foreigners.
Woo!
Okay. I think one of the things we really wanted to highlight as we move forward in this conversation is, now is the time. Now is the motion time. And what I'm learning in my personal life evaluation right now is forward momentum in any way builds momentum. Forward motion builds momentum. You stand at the top of the hill, you're at the top of the hill saying, I need to go down this hill. If you tilt a little bit forward, if you put that car in neutral a little bit and bump forward a little bit, it may be a minute before you feel it moving down that hill, but once it goes, it's going. And momentum builds the ability to put things in. And once things are in process, you got to make decisions.
Right.
Because some of these is like, once this is done, you got 2 months, 3 months. Once this is done, you got your time frame in those spaces. And I know for a lot of people, that is a bit of a deterrent, because it's like, okay, I don't have the time to take off here and there and move. But what I would hate is that you be on the other side of this no longer available.
Mm-hmm.
Or this has now gotten so complicated that it almost makes it overwhelming to do. You know, we talk about a lot of stuff here, and you know, so much of it is, so much information can make this all sound overwhelming. Most people are focused on a place, on an area, and we encourage that. The reason we encourage evaluating or considering more than one visa is because we want you to have options. I think Jai said that earlier. Charlotte Radler said that earlier. Mm-hmm. You want to have options. Mm-hmm. Don't do them all at the same time. But look at what's most effective for you, where you're thinking or considering, mm-hmm. and putting that process forward. A lot of places will allow you to have some things done without having to actually be there already, or be already in the process of moving there. With our Ecuadorian consideration, mm-hmm. we're getting our diplomas, our academic backgrounds approved, so that that's in place. That information is done. You're getting pieces done so that when you get to the bigger parts of it, you're simply sliding them over. Food prep. Since that's my thing, I'll use that as an example. A lot of people say, I came home tonight and I was too tired because it was too much to do. And I said, okay, you came home early on Monday. When you came home early on Monday, you made a dish. In that dish, you cut some onions, cut extra onions, put those onions in a bag, put them in the refrigerator. When you came home on Tuesday, you happened to come home Tuesday. You were actually home a little early. You prepared chicken. Prepare more than chicken. Prepare the chicken, salt, pepper, and some basic seasonings. Put half that chicken away in the refrigerator. Then when you come home late on Wednesday, you're going, I don't have any time. You got parts of a meal already started. Mm-hmm. That's what this process is. Yeah. When you take parts of something and move them forward, then when you get into the bigger parts of it, you're not trying to do it all at once. You're not trying to consider it all at once. You do a little bit of your research. You do a little bit of your paperwork. You do a little bit of, and accessing that helps it, I think, move forward in a way that is more manageable.
Relationship. Give a little bit of grief, because we feel like we're getting a little bit of grief. And they're like, okay, and back at you. You know, my access could be a leverage that folks may use. My access could be, I'm not here to build fear. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is choose your joy. Okay. Make your joy choices. I would have, if there is, let's see, so the Portugal process, from my vantage point of the visas that some of our friends have connected to, like Krishan, when you start that process, it starts in the States. And then just like also with Mexico, once you get approved, the clock starts where you have to be in country, where you have to, go through that second part of the process that could take a day, a week, a month, depending on what's happening locally. And so, or you may need to stay in place a year because the line for, getting your appointment with immigration takes time. So for some folks, that process is a little bit more involved and has a shorter clock. I would definitely, in this environment, I would be choosing some places that might have a shorter, or they have a clock, but it is something that you can start and stop, like a stopwatch. I'm going to start this, I'm going to get this, I can get this part of the process complete. It's in place. It doesn't expire. I'm specifically thinking of the professional visa in Ecuador, where you can have your diploma and transcript confirmed, and that confirmation by the Department of Education, the Ministry of Education, does not expire. But it is what qualifies me for the professional visa, where the economic solvency that is $1,300 or more is less than $500 as qualifying under the professional visa. And that visa also meets some other needs that can't be met with the countries that we already have visas for. In Mexico, our kids, if they're not under the age of 18, if they're not 18 and under, they have to qualify on their own. In Ecuador, our kids are not married. We have a dependent relationship with them. And so they qualify as dependents under us for that access at 25, 23, and 20. Those are the kinds of things that we were like, as much as I want to take action on some things, some other things have to be a priority, because I gotta, like they talk about securing the bag, I gotta secure my access to places that will allow me to continue to be on track for leaving my primary full-time work, where I can live and work in another place that is more economically sensitive to how I want to be able to invest my time, invest my money. I'm not paying 2/3 of my check to my rent, where, there are a lot of reasons why those of us who are in the move abroad space are doing that. But the way we're able to move to these countries is because we have something other than a tourist visa.
And it goes again, work to your process.
Yes.
Everybody is not leaving here in 2025, 2026. Okay. We've been having this conversation with you already 2 years, almost 2.5 years. Some people can pack their bags, pick up their things, and go. Some people don't start having this conversation out loud till they're getting ready to go. We decided to have this conversation from the beginning. It's a walkthrough process that we are slowly ticking away at, closing things down. And in the process, as Greta is sharing here, you still do the things you need to do to get yourself prepared. Do not, she says later in the comments, don't let panic and fear shift your narrative on what you're doing. What are you taking care of right now? And that is important. Say, hey, hey, big sis, good to see you. Hey, Prophet Mother, good to see you too. I want to encourage, hold on here. There was something I wanted to, hold on. That's a good comment right there.
Yeah. Mayor Love.
Yeah.
Hey, let's see. So we say on this channel, be ready, don't get ready.
Yeah.
So how can you be more in line with I'm ready, identifying the visa that you have access to. We don't talk about it on this channel. We're not in the 6 and 7 figure, ability to invest in a visa. Because we could technically be, when you're at that level, you can begin to have conversations about, what do you call that? Citizenship by investment.
Mm-hmm.
There are countries, especially Caribbean countries, that are allowing that. Other countries in the world, Malta, there are a lot of countries that are offering those golden visas where you spend, a few months, or not just spend. You may not have to have residency, but if you make a sizable investment in the country, then you and your family are issued passports.
Correct.
It is a path to citizenship.
If that is your resource, I encourage you to take advantage of it.
But even in that space, those opportunities have shifted and changed. A lot of the ones that people had been doing have been closing, or they're getting more stringent. So with the criteria of who's eligible or how much you have to invest.
And Pamela, this is part of where this conversation stems from. When we began, it was kind of like, it was a twofold thing. We liked Mexico, but we also saw it as we used a soft landing, and we also saw the process as reasonably attainable.
Mm-hmm.
Many things have changed, and this, we're like a conjoined twins here with America. There's a bit of uncertainty about in our consideration of Mexico, because it's right here. It's still and the attacks, the negative rhetoric that is often directed at Mexico. Trust me, I don't blame them for saying,
organizing.
Okay, let me put on my big boy coat, because you talking about fighting, and I expect that to happen, not just with places as close as that trickles down into Central and South America, and to places outside the country as well that are often common expat landing places.
Mm-hmm.
During the last stage of presidency, there were a lot of attacks towards places in Asia. A lot of people like to make their way to Asia. So,
y'all, I don't even know why Panama has come back up in a lot of these conversations. Like, Panama's like, what did we, what did we did, we had the relationship, we've got and like, why is it a thing? And so, because moving abroad is a priority, it is a way that I feel like we are securing our future. How are you securing your future? Mm-hmm. With what rules and processes are in line with what you are capable and willing to do today? If you've primarily been looking at one country, I encourage you to broaden, to be able to say there's at least one or two other places. Yes, Tanya Brooks. Yes. If plan A doesn't work, let's pivot. We have a whole video on perfecting the pivot, not the plan. And that is because not just if plan A doesn't work out, but plan A could require that I look at shifting where I am. if Mexico for me is a way, if I need to be accessible to my mother, I'm going to do that from Mexico. If being farther away is less convenient, gives me less options to being near home. I wanted a near home location. That is at the top of my reasons and sits at the top of my pros. When you're looking at pros and cons, that's what's at the top of my my pros list.
I want to go back to something we said last week. And I think DG is.
Oh, yes.
The world is not as big as it once was. There are still many people who have or believe they have, which sometimes is even more confining, who believe they have limited access out of the spaces in which they exist. But the world's not as big as it once was. And we can shift gears on where we are and where we're standing and where we're moving. Do it because it's the best option for you. Running from stuff or trying to avoid things, and it's like you're in trouble when you're getting home, so you try to stay out later. It doesn't stop the fact that you got to go home, or eventually mama coming to look for you. You have to be thoughtful about how you are approaching your why for the reasons that you're making, and it has to be more than just right now things are uncomfortable. Right now things are bad. There are going to be continuous changes of life throughout the span of your life.
And this is not an emotional process.
Yeah.
Wait, let me categorize that correctly. It is emotional because I'm shifting my life. I'm not basing my movements on things like fear or anxiety or worry. I have a plan and I'm working my plan regardless of the circumstances around me. What we're hoping is that you realize that time is moving forward, but there are environmental, political, social, there are lots of changes happening around your plan. And to be able to continue your process moving forward, you need to see that these other elements could impact it. I choose joy every time, and I'm going to make sure I have what I need to implement it. I've done that for my employer. I make sure we meet goals, targets, deadlines. That's what I'm doing for me too.
I'm going to read this. I have a process. I'm sticking to my process. I have and will pivot as necessary.
As necessary.
Okay. When you are committed to something that is for your betterment, it's bigger than the moment. Dee and I have been probably overly honest about the financial challenges we have faced in the past. During this 2 years, there have been a lot of ups and downs. When we started this channel, that was December of 2022. I was a few months out of my last full-time position. We mentally have our mind set on, when I work here every day and you work here every day, then we make this kind of money. We started this process with, I'm making this money and I'm bringing in the most money I can. That changes the finances. It changes the thought. We had just moved into this house 3 months before, 4 months before.
Okay. And I was like,
okay,
we still going.
Okay.
We still going.
In the process of that, we've moved 2 children out. We're about to graduate a third from college. We went from 3 cars to 1 car. All kind of things have changed in this process. The motivation, the intention, the purpose behind what our focus is hasn't changed. We pivoting like a mug.
Yeah, come on now. Come
Okay.
on, Danielle Brooks. Not only is she saying I'm working my plan, because she's in Exodus ASAP also, I'm staying open for opportunities.
And that level of open-mindedness has kept us from quitting this. Because there's been many times where it's been like, okay, we're really not going to be able to do this. Let's quit. We're not going to be able to do this. We might as well just sit still for a while. And we've had to take a sit back, take a deep breath. What are we trying to accomplish? Are we in forward motion? Did this shift us over here a little bit? Did this step us over that way? You know, are we walking on the right side of the street now instead of the left side of the street? But are we still going down the street? And
one option that we have talked about on this channel is the student visa process. If you're just trying to get out, there are lots of ways. Going to a language school, getting an additional degree outside the US, which is so much more affordable. But the tourist visa allows you to be there for multiple months at a time. So if you paired a tourist visa and then became a student and qualified, attended a qualified language school or culinary school or other academic program, y'all, I'm telling you, this process could be diced and sliced multiple ways, but be aware that what may be available today may not be the same opportunities that are available in the future. Stay connected. Be in communities where people are sharing what's happening in the world, where people are talking about the residency process, where they're talking about who's eligible. A lot of people were saying, until you all were talking about Thailand, we didn't know 50-year-olds qualified under the retirement visa there. I was like, that's because I had been watching some other channels. I thought retirement here in the US was the same retirement age for everywhere. But y'all, everything, because what H has been saying is the world is smaller than we think. The communication loop, the ability to share information real time means I need to be in the places where people are sharing what's happening on the ground, where people are communicating about, hey, I'm going to get the digital nomad visa in Spain. How is that changing? What do you mean? What is family? What is family unification? Oh, you mean my daughter, and I'm actually using Yolanda's experience. Her son is from Colombia. Her son was able to get citizenship in Spain. Her daughter is married to him. As a part of family unification, Yolanda was able to come and become a resident of Spain. Y'all, family unification is in a lot of places. Our parents, we've shared on this channel before. Another reason that was on the pro side for Mexico is family unification, which means our parents qualify. If we have temporary residency, our parents don't have to worry about economic solvency. We get them the same level of residency as we do. I'm a doula. I've been sharing with clients. If you have your baby in Mexico, your baby is a citizen, but they're not going to have your baby be a citizen and the parents be coming over on a tourist visa. No. Parents will get a permanent residency. Then siblings will be able to qualify for residency. But y'all, these countries have pathways for you to be in country. And when you are searching social media, you're the folks that in this chat right now have YouTube channels. Aging Grateful is always sharing about what's happening. There are lots of places where you can intersect with information so that if they're interviewing someone from a different place, you can learn a little bit more. Broaden, even if it's just a little bit, broaden how you are consuming that might give you options and opportunities in your plan.
Yeah, Pamela, I want hold on. I want to share something here because I think this is a valid statement. Because when you're a part of something, you know, if they can help, but here's the manager in me. Here's the manager in me. I'm using Dee as an example. Dee said, I want to go to Barbados. Who's in Barbados? She said, J. Ophelia is in Barbados. So I'm using J. Ophelia as my reference point when I go to Barbados to find out some information. So when I go, I know what on top of the research she did. So if the ladies aren't ready, create your own little side group. Find out who's in Colombia and say, you know, and who wants to go to Colombia. And 2 or 3 of us are going to come to Colombia. Can you find out the information and we go do it? I applaud that you all have a community where y'all can do this together. And I say, utilize it differently. Sometimes just say, okay, you know, there's like, as Dee always says, there's Facebook groups for everything. There's probably a Facebook group for my neighborhood. No comment on that. But I mean, and attack, and we just came back from Colombia. Would you like to go back to Colombia?
Hey.
She can talk to you about Colombia. I can talk to you about Colombia because I really enjoyed it. And you know what I'm saying? And we create these little pockets that build a bigger experience so that you don't have to wait for an experience to make it an experience for yourself.
But you can feel, I mean, Exodus ASAP is a membership community. The month of March is focused on residency. And so literally they just did a caravan to Mexico. People are lining things up so that I can benefit from, hey, they rented a house. That's probably going to be a lower price point than what we did in getting an individual Airbnb. But then all of you all are working together, usually with the facilitator, someone who is that level of access and community. Doing it together is highly motivating so that you don't, even though you are a trailblazer, that doesn't mean that you got to have all the headwind. You've got to face all that headwind alone.
You have to be prepared for this as a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just, and it's happened before in history. Okay. What's the saying? There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
You know, we go back and forth. It's a part of the dynamic of mankind. We like each other. We don't like each other. You benefit me. Yeah, I benefit you. We great. You know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You know, we rotate in and out of those dynamics, and us on the ground level get hit by that. So you have to be prepared to have a backup plan and a process.
Yeah.
Because I'm using this straight sentences here. Pivoting can be a very good thing.
You know, so what I think we've talked a lot about how things can shrink. Okay. Things are vanishing, but also I feel like that there may be a stair step approach that I want people to really embrace also. This may be one place maybe where I qualify today. It meets enough of my needs that I'm going to be in a good place. That I'm going to be in a good place. And then I will have additional resources, or I'm just waiting to get to be 62, 65 so that I can go to this other place and grab this residency a little bit, you know, because now I have Social Security, I have that federal lifetime income that may or may not be available, you know, but you know, there are things that I may qualify for in the future that I might need, that's also a plan A, a plan B, a plan C is I might need to graduate to the place that I want. So when I have more of those qualifying elements.
Unique Path Wellness asks, can you please provide a facilitator for assisting with the Ecuadorian visa?
Absolutely. So there are a couple of ways that we're using someone. Maybe when we get in country, we might be able to interview them. What I would suggest that you do is there are a couple of approaches we used. One, join. There is if you are African American, if you are Black, there's the African Americans in Ecuador Part 2 that is available as a supportive community. There's also expats in Ecuador, a larger group, and you can use the search tool within that Facebook group and type in facilitator or the term attorney. And you can do this same process in all of the country-based groups. So it'll be expats Mexico, expats in Colombia, expats, and just you can use the search feature to read about the different attorneys that are available. Sometimes you can type in temporary residency or residencies in a particular country, and those facilitators, those attorneys also have videos. What I like to see is that this person is very responsive. So you get a couple of names from those groups. How long does it take for you to respond back to me? Not as I've got this, what do you call it? I've got this email template, and when someone emails me, I copy, paste, and I send it. When I ask you a question, how long does it take for you to get back with me? The highest price does not always mean the better quality of service. The lowest price doesn't mean that they don't have a quality service. If I would take some time to get some friends, get some folk, I trust Stephen and LaShawn in Ecuador.
Living, Loving Abroad.
Their channel is Living, Loving Abroad. They used their facilitator that they used to get their visa. They've interviewed on their channel. I have tested how responsive their facilitator is. We did not choose her, but her business, but I have not only watched her and asked questions during their live with her, but I have also asked my own questions to test the system for myself and watched her channel because she has a YouTube channel as well and shares information. So I feel confident. I think regardless, get a few names, has some criteria. If it takes a minute for them to return your emails, or, I'm okay even with a facilitator that says, I have a cost. I spoke with Yolanda's facilitator in Spain. Pay my money, because either you're going to pay at the beginning, make mistakes, waste time, or you're going to pay somebody that knows the process, especially if that is a process you're not familiar with. We hired a facilitator when we did our initial visa in Mexico. I prepared all the same papers that she did when we did that. So when we went back, guess who filed the papers? 1, 2. Really 1, but I helped shake and bake.
She prepared all the stuff. I just handed it in.
So that's what I would do. If you, like I said, Living Loving Abroad's channel, they have several interviews with their facilitator. But I'm cautious about recommending facilitator, that especially that I have not used. So y'all, I try to be cautious with. But if you want to message us on Instagram, I'll share. And that way you can use that as a part of your research.
Got it. Motivation. Retirement in America is not an option.
I want to be able to retire
Just
and not have to choose to live in a tent.
hey.
Hey, you know why retirement in the US is not? It's for the birds. I can barely afford health care with insurance from my employer now. I've got a stack of medical bills that we just paid. Y'all, I was like, my income is going to outpace the medical care that I need for myself and my family. Y'all,
we got to do a recorded video, short recorded video just on. We've talked about our medical adventures outside the country.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have a little bit of rant on just what's been going on here.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, the process is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes. Same for Chase.
Visa requirements are ratcheting up. If you are fast, you pass. If you're slow, you blow. You tell how old you are, Chase.
I promise you, there is a place for you in the world. There are probably more than one place. There's probably more than one place for you in the world. Get out there, learn more. Hey, there are places I was like, we took a trip to, as you all know, we did Costa Rica, Panama, Ecuador, and Colombia. Half of that was just for vacationing, just to see what. I was like, we're gonna be back.
Yeah.
Like, if you're thinking, I know I want to go here, but I would say, give yourself the ability to have some choice by considering some places. We have not talked about the greedy I have for the continent of Africa. When I say my greedy, I'm talking about I'm greedy to be in a place where my skin color doesn't stand out. Okay. It's just like, I want to try on a mink coat. if you're into that, like, I want to see what that feels like.
But it has to be authentic to you.
It
has to be.
I'm going to say this here. Please don't come for me in the chat. This is my experience. Experiencing Central and South America in spaces where I was among mostly brown people. You've never experienced that before. It's different. It makes you look at the world different. And I could see the contrast of when certain people were not in certain spaces. And then when they were reintroduced to me, what that looked like and how I felt about that, and the triggered versus the non-triggered interactions, the things that were inside of me that got a chance to rest. I think in the world, there are lots of places. So please give yourself the benefit of whether that is a trip, a cruise. Just open your eyes just a little bit more. Open yourself up to more opportunity.
Yeah. So Greta and Aging Grateful are talking about Thailand. Thailand is still high on our list. She asked, she mentioned about the air pollution, and he's saying that they're having fires in San Miguel. Listen,
wow.
Sometimes just experiences of where you are, things are going to change. There's Yolanda agreeing with you about the situation with her son-in-law. I mean, there's so much information. There's so many opportunities. Don't want you to get bogged down with the fact that things are changing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, don't talk about it, be about it. You know, sometimes if you're avoiding the fight, you don't start, and there won't be none. But sometimes if you want things to happen, if you don't start none, there won't be none.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait on others to create the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much information here. There's so much knowledge that's being put out. Watch Yolanda. This is her. That's her page. Watch Yolanda. You considering Spain? She opening it wide up.
I promise you.
And people are telling all the business, or as the lady say, spilling all the tea. I ain't never spilled tea in my life. But I mean, there's so much information that can help you move forward. And I think that we are honestly all here working to provide joint information. And yes, Nikki, the fellas,
I think the fellas do need a space to talk, but it's not going to be like Exodus.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like Cedric says, we do it different, but we're working on it.
But the brotherhood.
I need to get back into conversations with Dave and with Ced, because there are things that we have to talk about that make this work for us. Okay, so Agent Griff was asked, did we get residency in Ecuador? So no, we are currently walking through the process.
Yeah, so the first step for us for the professional visa was to have our diplomas and our transcript confirmed by, and that's what we're doing right now. And then because the second part starts a clock, like a 3-month clock, we want to do, and we can do that outside the US. So once we get the diplomas confirmed, then we want to start the second part that actually submits our paperwork for us and the kids to Ecuador. We want to do that once we know that the house is sold, because flying back and forth to Ecuador is not cheap. And so we want to make sure that we've got enough lockdown here, but I want to maintain my eligibility. So I stay eligible for the professional visa by having that diploma, that diploma confirmed. And I shared the Ecuador visa process with Exodus ASAP this week. But you can, if you guys are interested in us kind of walking through that, let me know in the comments. To me, it is a very straightforward process. It seems to be consistent over the last few years of what they're asking for. And like I said, I was looking for somewhere that if my kids needed to leave the US, that they've got immigration level access to Mexico, to Ecuador, to, we're looking at what our qualifications for Colombia. I just feel like you need those levers because of so many different reasons. Cortez Ross talked about during the pandemic, his daughter had difficulty getting her medication, her mental health medication. That's not something, that many of us are on critical life-sustaining medication. But if there's a shortage in my country, some places for some levels of medication require you to have a cedula, like in Panama and Ecuador and in Colombia, to get a certain prescribed or certain level of prescription medication. And so sometimes you're going to need to have those options available. We're just starting with what we can right now. And then the other piece to Ecuador is we want to be able to go to a country where we not only qualify for temporary residency, but the same reason we're doing it for Mexico, temporary we have to be in country for, we cannot leave for more than 90 days, which is very different from other places. But we want to qualify for the permanent residency. So we want to make sure that we are in a timeline to be able to lock down that 21 months of not being, of being in country. And then, I believe it's having the permanent residency for 3 years is a part of what qualifies us for citizenship. And I feel like this part of the conversation we did not add, but I did want to talk about is we want to be in places for as long as we want to be there. That is what a visa is. If visas are vanishing, what is more permanent is citizenship. So when we're talking about investing in your move abroad process, and we're talking about things like knowing the culture, knowing the history, being aware of the political and environmental and relationship that that country has with its fellow partners, regional partners, and with other countries like China, Russia, the US, you want to be aware of those things because that is a part, all of those things are a part of what can qualify you for citizenship. I'm able to move around in the world. So if the US starts being a place that, or starts saying certain things are accessible or not accessible to passport holders, you can and can't do things. They're beginning to not only track your movements, but limit your movements more than they have in previous years. I may need another country that says you can be here legally for as long as you like. You have all rights and privileges to not only be in this country, but to move around the world based on the relationships that we have with other countries. That is what citizenship can open up to. And the timeline for citizenship is a one that we feel like is reasonable. It's more like a 5 or 6 year timeline. Correct. Versus some countries where you have to be there for 10 years. And so if you're not considering this stair step to possible permanent residency or to citizenship, I would consider where you're going and what the possibilities are if you need to have that level of access.
We're very mindful of how old we are. And so time that we have to commit to a place versus decide on a space has a lot to do with what we're doing in the spaces and what are options for us. So trust me, we have the 21-month conversation about Ecuador a lot because it says here, and then there's some other time frames that are after that, after the permanent residency. So there's a lot of consideration about how that plays into what some of our greater and more long-term plans are. Right. As Libra is saying here, you got to you have to explore what is right for you. There is nothing that makes Europe a definite no anymore than makes Africa a definite yes. Right. We make assumptions about things. Do your research. And if you have the opportunity, make the opportunity, take the trips, take the visits. When you're in an energy space, when you're in a place, you experience it and understand it differently than when you pick up the encyclopedia or your National Geographic, or you're watching somebody else talk about how they feel about it on YouTube. What is it? What can you get from it? Are you finding the peace and joy you need to find in a space? Lizzie, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And as I agree with C. Bliss. Is it bringing you peace?
Come on now. You know that's my vocabulary right there.
And I think first you have to define what that means for you, because it does not. Peace for D and peace for me do not mean the same thing. My goals for peace do not mean what they mean for her. And we need to go back and have that conversation again, because it's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm writing it down.
We see them differently as individuals. We see them differently as gender. And as a gendered person of color, how we are affected and where we are, what peace means. I don't want to have to sit with my back to a wall in a restaurant. I don't want every car backfire to make me jump. I don't want to be worried when she walks down the stairs out of the building by myself at sunset. Those things bring me peace. Okay. I have probably learned to ignore most ignorant A people and how they approach me, because I'm just gonna walk off, or I'm gonna hit you in your throat. You getting one or the other. There's no middle ground. Peace for thee is, how do I get away from having to do things?
Rest.
Okay.
Ease. Yes. That is, he's
Ease.
never gonna say that.
You'll never hear me say ease. That means absolutely nothing to me. But what we do is we take those combined needs and we implement them onto the places that we're looking.
Yeah.
Can we collectively find peace and ease?
Yes.
Release and relate. Can we find that? Cedric is saying, I want to do stuff with couples. I get it. I think sometimes is, as married men in particular, it's just easier to have coupled events than to be a part of men events, because married and single men are not the same as married and single women. Those are two different kind of groups of people interacting with together. And so sometimes it's just easy to say, if we're not with our wives, and maybe once we're all with our wives, then the guys go do some things. It's a whole conversation, and you have to figure out what works best for your process. Nikki is asking if we're doing the professional visa in Panama.
Let's see. So the professional visa for Panama is a little different, a lot different. Not what you have to do. So your diploma and transcripts have to be certified by the Ministry of Education. It's just on the other side, people saying Panama might come back and say, you need to take some more classes. Maybe I graduated. That's all the class I'm going to take.
I am classy. That's all the class I'm going to get from you.
So I'm considering it, because I'd rather, what do you call it? I'm not going to tell myself no. Come on now. I'm not going to tell myself no. And so Panama is a place that's on my radar. We enjoyed the people. The heat is next level, but I really, okay, so we got a community. Let's get together. Anybody want to do professional visas for Panama together? Maybe we get together, we form a group, and we walk the process together. I just feel like I was counting myself out. I was counting out some places because there might be some resistance, or that takes a long time. Or I was like, when I talk to people about going back to school at our age, I'm like, you're either going to be 2 years older, or you're going to be 2 years older with a degree. Like, give it some. Stop telling yourself no. Stop saying age. Stop saying I'm alone. Stop saying, our friends. Our friends. She's been trying to get her husband, who is, she's old, she's older than us, but her husband
is considerably
older. And he was like, I'm not going anywhere. I love my comfortable life here. If I ever leave, I'm going back to my home country. Okay. A buddy of his, a family member, was calling and was hyping up Panama, like to the point where she walks in the door from the grocery store and he says, we're not going back home for you to get your citizenship. First, we're going to go to Panama and go on the Black Expats in Panama tour, because I think we might want to move to Panama. Y'all, I'm telling you, she was like, I guess I'm not leaving. I guess all I'll be able to do. And she was just like, you mean that one conversation with someone that you had a relationship with, someone that was another male speaking to you from a male perspective, that turned the corner when I'm I've been sharing, you've been listening to me talk, listening to me and listening to the information about the opportunities that moving abroad can have. Like we need to know that there are multiple levers, multiple levers. Go on ahead and put up Marilyn's. Thank you, y'all. We appreciate you stopping to like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Hopefully more people will be able to see this. You all in the comments, y'all, this is why lives are very, very valuable, because you can ask your questions. Somebody is either in the place, going to the place, or is interested in the place where you might want to go, and you can ask your questions here.
We talk about the comment Libra made earlier. She said she moved to the Netherlands 15 years ago, and nobody will come to the Netherlands.
Oh, wait, who's talking about not coming to the Netherlands?
Libra.
Because Libra, the Netherlands is on my list.
So let me,
sisters in the Netherlands are doing that.
So here's where I think and I said this before, here's where I think we have a challenge. When I worked with a gentleman this week. He's 42, so he's a little younger than me. He is from this city. He has barely ever traveled from this city. Okay. And he wants to go, but first thing he said was he was listening to me have a conversation on the phone with one of our collaborators, Kevin Melanin Man. And he was like, man, you made it sound so easy. And I was like, where's the difficult part? There was nothing that I said. I was like, again, it goes back to that momentum. When you haven't, another gentleman said to me, he's like, I've never been on a plane. I'm afraid of flying. I was like, you're not afraid of flying. You're afraid of the concept of flying. You're not been on the plane, so you don't know you're afraid of flying. I was like, don't make your first flight a 10-hour flight. Make your first hour flight, fly to 45 minutes to Atlanta from where we are. Get on the plane, let the plane take off, let the plane land. You got on a plane, you were in a plane with people, you saw how it went. Take the small steps to do towards I'm in the process of learning how to do things. When you come from a country like ours, where black and white is such a profound issue, and you're asking me to go to a country that is perceptively Caucasian, I can't perceive how that is safe for me. How that is beneficial to me. You hear me say all the time, I enjoyed our trip in Spain. I thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed my trip with my wife in Spain. Okay, I've lived in the South most of my life. Because I lived in the South most of my life, I can deal with most things outside of calling me, direct attacks or microaggressions. I'm still not sure that Europe is a place that says for me, I'm going to be in a space. I know people say, well, I don't care. And again, do I feel like I need to be in a place where all black people are? No. Do I want to be in a place where I'm continuing to be a minority? I'm not sure that's the thing for me. It's a part of why I'm making the trips to explore and find out. And a lot of people either feel they don't have the access or know how to access going and seeing and doing. But I said to him, when you take a trip, just like I share with you all, you're not going to be a tourist. You're not going to see the museums. And go be near the people. Go down to the small shops and shop. Get into the up close and personal. And it's amazing how some of the perceptions that exist because of what our lives are here in the US, aren't always as pervasive or even exist in other countries where we still have a color display. They're not Black, but I have decided I'm okay with how comfortable I feel with being around those people. That's a decision that I've made. But I also like the energy of the atmosphere. I like the energy of the nature that is it. And if the space and the nature of where you are happens to be around a bunch of Europeans, do that doggone thing. Do you come, see, explore, and again, hold on, I'm scrolling down.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think that it is important to say. I think some people experience it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it also sometimes depends on where you are. I felt like a Black man in Spain. Not like anybody did anything negative to me. There was any negative approach. I just felt I stood out as a Black man. And unfortunately, the African people in presence were going out of their way to act like they didn't see me, because again, I think that it's still a space where my color is evident. And I also think that applies to men. I also think that's a male thing. I think as men, Black men, we are so abused, disheartened, that it's, you can't tell me it doesn't exist. I still think Black women, regardless of where they come, are an exotic factor of life, and white boys love you, and European boys love you. You're Black women. I'm a Black man, and as a Black man, when I'm with my Black woman, it's a different look at me than when I'm walking down the street by myself. I walk down the streets of Morocco, and Morocco is high brown people. And when I was walking by myself and when I was walking with her, the looks were different. The experience was different. Okay. Maybe it's just my perception, and I'm working through that, and I'm understanding that I may have to work through that. But it has to be a practice, and you have to be realistic about if that's a trigger for you, this area, if people acting like that is a trigger for you, people bumping into me.
Know thyself.
You see me standing here. Okay. And you have to determine, are they doing this because they're in a hurry and they just bumping into everybody? Or in Mexico, people were just in a hurry. In Morocco, they were trying to walk over me. And I'm telling you because they looked me in my face. And I deal with that BS on a daily basis. Okay. And so I make determinations about how I move forward based on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Lots of great comments. Luxury bucket list, talking about, I've got a plan A. If that doesn't work, a plan B. If that doesn't work, a plan C. When I began to realize that there's freedom of movement, like if I like the springtime in the Netherlands, which I'm going to get there. I want to see the windmills. I want to take a picture in the tulip fields. But the winter, I don't like cold, super cold weather. So I could probably go to southern Spain during the winter time. I can go if it's too hot in Spain, as it usually gets well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit for a long period of time, and air conditioning is not necessarily standard there, then I can find somewhere cooler to go during those. it literally is why they have those vacation schedules like they do, so that people get a chance to get away and spend time away. Why are we not considering that in how we are leveraging our current visa access, but also securing longer amounts of time when we're looking at other visa types like temporary and permanent visas? So we started this conversation around the changes that are happening to the regularization process. Yes, I literally rolled my eyes as I was trying to get that word out. The regularization process in Mexico, because it happened in the middle of the process for my Exodus Summit sisters that went there to get their residency. Exodus ASAP ladies went in a caravan. 9 of them went to get their residencies in the first part of the week. Before the end of the week, the rules changed. And so we thought it would be important to use that as one example of, can you take action on your plan? Visa processes are always changing, but the current political environment, the relationship, if you are from the US, the relationship that the US has with other countries can impact your access. Is there something you can, or some things that you can consider and move forward on that will confirm that you have the ability to be in the place or places that bring you joy, that you know this is where I want to be? Let's get to work.
We encourage you to make contact with us.
Yes.
We still let you know we still do consultations. We still will share information if you will sign up on our email list and our consultation list. Listen, we sharing the information as we learn the information.
Absolutely.
Jice, you contacted me earlier. Jice wants to talk about the Ecuador visa, the professional visa. Man, it's about to rain outside. It's making us sleepy. You know, the Panamanian visas. Let's get together and let's do these things.
Outside of Spain, we probably, and I think we talked a little bit about Portugal, but I have some sister friends that are in Italy that I haven't had on, that literally have dated, married, had children in Italy. So like,
There's several people talking about it here.
What do you call that? There's the 1-year visa that is currently available in Albania. There are a lot of us there. So there are places we haven't talked about. It's not like those places are not on our radar. But if we have not talked about a country you are interested in, let us know. If there is a channel that you are watching that you think our audience, you can actually capture that link and put it in the comments so that we see it. I'm always looking for other couples. I'm learning from young people. What's his name? Isaiah. The Isaiah Ashley show is who opened my eyes to the possibilities in Thailand. And so I'm so thankful how you guys have shared and broadened our view, and we hope that we're doing the same for you.
How do we reach out to you, Libra? Let us know, because we
message us on Instagram.
Message on Instagram. We'd like to know. Listen, it's always great having these conversations with you. You all provide us that we come here with us to throw some stuff out there so you can give us some stuff to write down. And please, if you're watching later, leave a comment in the comment section. Let us know you came by. Give us real thoughts, real feelings. You know, we're not super touchy, but we will respond to everything that we hear.
Yeah. Thank you, Yolanda, for staying up late with us.
Absolutely. People watching all over the world, in the Netherlands, in Italy, wherever you are, down the street from us. It's good to see you. We're H&D Abroad. I'm Herman, the beautiful D. And we got guests next week. So
oh, yes.
make sure you come by.
We're going to be talking co-living. Me talking about co-living.
I'll be listening from this chair. See y'all later. Bye.